Hello everyone, thank you for joining us this Saturday morning and welcome to this educational presentation. Now this morning I'd like to talk to you about how to fine-tune your entries with the confirmation method, because so many times students of ours come to our training and to our educational courses with a method that works fairly okay. It's producing or generating some mild profits. It's just that their entries are faulty. They're either getting in too early, too late. Maybe they're afraid to pull the trigger because they don't have enough confidence. Well, let me share with you a generic example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to be sharing with you a great method I've been using for over 4 decades now, where it could have helped you tremendously in a situation like this. As we look at this generic chart, it appears as if the market is kind of going sideways, but possibly you feel, according to your analysis, that maybe there's some support right here. So you tell yourself, when we get down to this level, I'm going to place a limit and I'm going to buy at this area of support. So we get there the next day and you purchase, all right? So now you're long this, whatever it is, a stock, a future, a currency pair, it makes absolutely no difference. So you're long, and even though it closed lower, you feel confident that it's going to bounce back up and get you a nice profit, and then this happens, right? Well, based off of the exact same buy signal, using whatever analysis, whatever method you wanted to, I'm going to share with you the technique today where you would not have lost any money using this same buy signal, okay? And you're going to see how simple it is to actually apply this by using our new platform. This is the PTS Primo Charting platform. I designed this with Pro Trader Strategies. It's an educational portal that automatically fine-tunes your entries for you. So welcome once again. This is going to be a great educational presentation. My name is Steven Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. 10 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies with one goal in mind, and that was simply to educate traders. Now, I know a lot of webinars you may have attended in the past, or a lot of courses you may have taken. They promise you the world and they tell you what exactly to buy, what exactly to sell, what the perfect time frame is, what the perfect market is. All you have to do is simply push a button or go to the signal service and we'll tell you exactly what and how to trade. Well, if you're looking for that here, you've come to the wrong place, because that is entirely opposite of what we do. We don't promise to have a strategy or method that generates millions of dollars and that you retire in the next 6 months. We don't promise to force feed you signals so that there's nothing actually you have to do. In fact, what we promise is to provide you with sound fundamental education so that you can actually make those decisions on your own. Now, I've been trading for a total of 42 years now. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for a total of 16 years. 9 of those years I was a specialist. That's where we get the name Specialist Trading. A specialist is someone who made markets. I made markets in about 60 stocks. If you wanted to buy or sell a particular stock, you had to walk up to the specialist who made a market in that. I traded during the crash of 1987 and the bull market that followed. I've traded just about every system, every technique you can think of. I have traded just about every market environment you can think of, straight up, straight down markets. And if there's one thing I've learned in my over 4 decades of trading experience, it's that the only way one becomes a consistent trader is by making their own trading decision. Now, the reason why most traders don't do this is because they feel they don't have enough experience, enough knowledge. Maybe they didn't go to school and have an economics degree. Well, you don't need that. All you need is for someone to provide you this information so that ultimately you don't have to rely on spending $10,000 on some system or some class that you really fully don't even understand. You can make your own trading decisions, and this is why we only provide you with education so that ultimately you'll be in charge of your own trading destiny. And you'll see just how much attention to detail we give in trying to educate you in our free webinars. Every webinar I give, I try to leave all of the attendees with something so that you can start experimenting with it that day or even later on in the afternoon. But it's up to you to decide whether this is your cup of tea or not. But most of our traders around the world in over 115 countries and in virtually every state in the United States have some great testimonials saying that we've really improved their trading. So you'll see just how well we can improve your trading today by sharing with you this simple entry technique. But before we begin, as always, we're required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results using the confirmation method. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And also please remember that all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. So as you're taking a brief moment to view our disclaimer, once again, I'd like to take this time to invite each and every one of you. We have a good crowd here today. So if you haven't done so already, feel free to follow us on Twitter. I post a lot of great free educational information on a daily basis, anywhere from signals our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom. So lots of great free education. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Okay, now once again, as we stated in the opening statement, we're a little bit different from other webinars you may have attended if you're new to my Saturday webinars, and the fact that we're only trying to educate you. In fact, that's our sole purpose. The reason I say this is because when I first started trading 42 years ago, I struggled tremendously. I was doing all the same things that most likely many of you have been taught today. So there's nothing new under the sun. If you're trading some brand new system or brand new strategy or some news information, trust me, it's been around for decades, and most likely I've already traded it. So I know what works in terms of consistency, and I know what doesn't. But I still struggle tremendously because I used all this conventional wisdom that was supposed to help me. I was lucky enough to have some mentors on the floor that taught me all of the same things that I teach my students. So as you can see here, this is what we call the specialist edge. My goal is not to force feed you signals. It's not to tell you what or how to trade, but simply to teach you how to trade with this edge. A good trading mentor does not trade for you. He does not tell you what to buy or what to sell or when to buy or when to sell. A good trading mentor teaches you so that you can make those decisions on your own. And that's what we do at Specialist Trading and at my sister site, Pro Trader Strategies. Now, since this is an educational class today, I want to take all your questions, as many as possible. But if we stop, I have a lot of slides to share with you today. In fact, I'm going to be sharing with you some old slides in the beginning, then some brand new slides are actually going to go to the platform and show you some current markets so that we can apply this confirmation method to. But if we stop at every slide to ask a question, we'll take up far too much of your Saturday morning. I don't want to do that. So please hold off till the end if you have any questions, okay? I promise I'll get to each and every one of them. So the only question I will answer is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you have to leave early or if you're having some technical issues, do not worry. We will furnish each and every one of you with a link to this recording. But we have a good crowd here today. I don't want to take all of your Saturday morning. So if you have a question, please wait till the end to ask any questions, okay? All right, with that stated, let us begin today's presentation. And what I'm going to be talking to you about today is what I learned trading on the floor of the exchange. Because once again, I struggled tremendously. And, you know, every once in a while I'd have a great trade, and then every once in a while I'd give it all back. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. You have a couple of good trades, and then you give it all back on the next one, and you're really not going anywhere. And so here's what my mentors noticed what I was doing. Here's what they taught me. Because I was basing my entries based off of some news event. I'd wait for the earnings to come out. I'd wait for these two indicators to line up, and I couldn't buy or sell anything until they lined up perfectly. Or maybe I would, wait to see if something was overbought or oversold. I was using all the conventional wisdom, but it just wasn't producing consistent results. Here's what my mentors taught me when I was struggling some 42 years ago. They said, Steve, what you need is a clear-cut plan for entry. You just cannot base it off of what someone or something else is telling you. It must be based on what the chart is telling you, and not what an outside source is telling you, okay? Remember, I was following what the news was coming out. I was waiting for the earnings. I was waiting for the indicators to line up. I was waiting for some guy on TV, some guru to tell me when to buy or when to sell. And those are all outside sources. Those are not the thing you should be focusing on. The source of what you're trading is on the chart in front of you. So that is what should tell you when to get in, okay? And it was entirely the opposite of what I was doing, and most likely the opposite of what many of you are doing. So they taught me the confirmation method. Now, the first thing I want to state is that you see here in the title, this is a method. What most of our students have difficulty with this is their eyes light up when they see how simple it is, but then they say to themselves, well, Steve, I traded based off the confirmation method, and I lost on a couple of trades. Remember, it's not a strategy. This is a method that you apply to a strategy, all right? This is only a method to fine-tune your entries. In order to use the confirmation method, you already have to have some structure in place, okay? So this cannot be the reason for your trades. This is something you add on top of your trades. And also, because it's a method, it can be altered or changed. method is not a system. It's not something that is, set in stone that can never be changed. I'll show you a couple of ways in which you could apply it, and one of the main ways in which we use it with our strategies at Specialist Trading. All right, now I'm going to explain to you what the confirmation method is. It's a little bit wordy, so don't worry if it doesn't really make sense or you don't copy all this down. Remember, it's all being recorded. You can go back at your own leisure and study this over and over. But I'll share with you a lot of examples on chart examples so that it really comes into play a lot easier. All right, here's the confirmation method. Confirmation is the verification that the trend has resumed in the desired direction of where your trade setup is. This is your signal to enter the trade. A specialist always waits for his trade to be confirmed before entry. Now, I know that may be a little esoteric or kind of flighty there, but let me explain it this way. Imagine you're at a train station. You want to get from point A to point B. You're standing there at the queue waiting for the train to come. Now, as you're waiting, you see a train coming down the tracks, but it's headed in the exact opposite direction of where you want to go. Now, is this the train you'll get on? Most likely you won't, right? Unfortunately, this is the way most of us trade. The market is going in the exact opposite direction of where we want it to go. And that's usually where we buy. Because we've always been taught you want to buy low, sell high, right? But actually the confirmation works in the exact opposite. This will increase your odds for consistency. Because if you're back at that train station, what you want to do is let that train pass you, the one that's going in the opposite direction, and wait for one that's headed in the direction you want to go. Once you have confirmation that this train is headed in your direction, that's the one you jump on board. It's the same way with trading. Once you see that the stock is headed in the direction you want it to go, that's when you enter, not prior to that, okay? So let's see how this can be clarified a little bit more. Let me go over the rules, and remember, once again, the rules may be a little bit confusing, a little bit wordy, but don't worry, once you see it in the charts I have for you, it'll make a lot more sense. All right, let's say you get a buy signal. And remember, this can be applied to any strategy. I don't care if it's based off of fundamental news. I don't care if it's based off the tides of the ocean. It makes absolutely no difference. But once all the requirements come into play, whatever you're looking at, maybe it can be based off news, once everything comes into play and you say, okay, it's time to buy. Rather than place a limit or buy at the market, if your strategy generates a buy signal, after an entry signal has been given, only buy once price trades 1 to 2 ticks above the original entry bar or the setup bar, okay? Rather than buy at the market or just the way the trains go in the opposite direction when the stock or future or currency pair is headed lower, you will only buy if it trades 1 to 2 ticks or 1 to 2 pips above that bar, all right? Now, you have a couple of choices after this. Many of our strategies are based off of this happening on the next bar. And then if it doesn't happen, we negate the trade. But a lot of students and a lot of traders like to just carry that all the way down. They like to track with each and every new bar because they feel that, well, it was a good buy on the previous bar and when I didn't get in, well, it'll be an even better buy on the next bar at a lower price. So you have a choice. You can, remember, this is a method you can alter to meet your needs. So if entry does not take place on the second bar, well, you can negate the trade, or you may continue this process with each preceding bar. This is only as long as the setup is still valid within your strategy. Or you can continue until the order is filled or canceled. So let me show you what I mean here, looking at some generic examples again. All right, let's say you're following this market, whatever it is, whatever time frame, it makes absolutely no difference, and it takes off. So now you're saying, okay, my strategy is saying I got to buy this. This thing's going to take off. Now, you jump in right here, usually, because on this breakout, you say, I don't want to miss this. It's going to keep going higher. That guy in that chat room I follow loves this. He says, you've got to jump in right now or else it'll get too far away from you. Well, that's the way most traders trade, myself included, and this is what adds to your inconsistency, to your failures. If you want to add to your consistency, once you are confirmed that you want to buy, rather than buy at the market or place a limit, you'll only buy if you trade 1 or 2 ticks above. Because if it's going to go up, it'll most likely trade above there. Now let's see what happened on the next bar. Well, it went lower. So if you want to continue tracking this, let's say the strategy still says it's okay to buy, well then you just move this entry point down to 1 or 2 ticks above the next bar. Now, as I said earlier, Different strategies have different approaches. They're based on different momentum techniques. Many of our strategies require that you enter on the next bar, and if it doesn't happen, then the trade is negated. But let's say you wanted to track it, okay? Because you can. It makes absolutely no difference. You're in charge. Remember, as I stated in the opening, you make the decisions, not us. We're just providing you with education. So you can continue tracking all the way down. You still feel this is a good buy, even though it's come all the way back down to prior to breaking out. And it continues to go lower. You continue to track it. And then ultimately, it trades above there. And you notice I say trade. I didn't say that it has to close above. Now, if you want it to close above, that's your decision. You can have it for more confirmation. But the rule doesn't state that it has to close there. It just has to trade above, 1 or 2 ticks above. So that would be your entry point. You just purchased on confirmation that it traded above the previous bar's high. All right? And look what happened. So see, you were right all along that it was right to be long this. But here's what happens most of the time. This is what adds to our inconsistency as traders. Usually we'll buy up here thinking that it's taking off, I got to get in, and then we sit through 3 or 4 down days. This is where emotion comes in. This is where fear comes in. You start to second doubt yourself. You start to say, boy, this was a bad decision. Or boy, that guy in that chat room doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to get out. Or boy, this system that I purchased doesn't work. I'm going to get out of this. So you sell with a minor loss and then it takes off, okay? Using the confirmation method is designed to fine-tune your entry so we're jumping on board that train when the train leaves the station, okay? We're not jumping on board, and then it just stalls or it's the wrong train. Now, the confirmation method, remember, is not designed to get you in at the bottom or out at the top. It's just designed, once again, to have you jump on board when that train is leaving. So as you can see, if this were the train, this is where it takes off. This is when we jump on. Now, it can be at a better price or a worse price than where you originally wanted to get in, but that doesn't matter. The point is, over time, you will feel more confident and have more consistency using the confirmation method. Now, this works the same way for sell. I'll go over this really quickly because it's the same process. After an entry signal has been given, only sell once price trades 1 to 2 ticks below the original entry bar. Now, if this does not take place on the second bar and you want to continue to be in this trade, you may continue the process with each preceding bar, as long as the setup is valid within your strategy, or until you're filled or canceled. So let's look at another generic example. Let's say that you don't like this stock, future, currency pair, Bitcoin, makes no difference. It's headed lower. You think that this is some support here, so what you're going to do is the minute we close below that, you are going to sell because this is really going much lower, all right? And as you can see, it does, so you got short, you sold, all right? And then this happens. It starts to go higher. But as we see here, let's first apply the confirmation method. Instead of going short the way we would have right here, let's go short only if it trades 1 or 2 ticks below. By going short, you could either go short the stock or purchase puts, but it's better just to wait. As you see, this is where it starts to go higher, and you can track it all the way. Now, in this instance, you actually would have sold at a higher price than down here. But remember, that's not what we're looking for. That's not the goal of the confirmation method. The goal of the confirmation method is so that you don't have to sit through this 3 or 4 days of losing, because we all know that's the worst thing in the world when the minute you get into a trade and then you lose right off the bat. You get scared, you sell at the market to get out, and usually when you do that, that's the time you should actually be getting in, because then this happens. So you can see here, the confirmation confirmed that we traded below the previous bar, and that's when the train left the station. This is what you're looking for. Now, the purpose of waiting for confirmation is not only to get us in at the beginning of the trade, but also to keep us out of bad trades as well. All right, so this is another extra advantage to using this method. Remember that first example we shared with you at the opening of today's presentation. You decided you wanted to buy at this so-called support level, okay? So this is where you would have purchased without confirmation. Now remember, this is the way most traders trade. But if we used confirmation, we would say, well, listen, if it's going to go up, that's okay. I don't care if I buy at this exact bottom of the support. I'll wait for it to trade 1 or 2 ticks above. And as you continue to use confirmation, you would not have ever even been in the trade. So many times, confirmation method will keep you out of some bad trades as well. Now, none of this is guaranteed. None of this is 100% foolproof. But remember, as your educator, we're just trying to put the odds in your favor. We're trying to make you consistent. Consistency is a two-step forward, one-step back process. The one step back means that every once in a while, you will have some small failures. That's okay. Consistency is being able to recoup those small losses. And consistency is what will sustain you for not just a couple of weeks or a couple of months of good trades, but for maybe a couple of decades, maybe 30, 40 years down the road. That's what we're trying to instill in you. What kind of a mentor would I be if I only traded and taught you a method that was good for the next couple of months, okay? And then you went into a major drawdown and gave it all back. What we're looking for is to teach you things that have stood the test of time, education, so that you can make your own decision. Remember, as I stated in the opening statements, the only way I have found in my 4 decades of trading, the way one becomes consistent is by a trader making their own decisions. Now look at how you make your own decisions. Do you have some strategy or some system that automatically pops out the buy and sells for you? Do you go to a chat room to find out what to do each and every night? Do you wait with bated breath for the earnings to tell you whether you should buy or sell? This is the way I would venture to say 80 to 90% of all traders trade. Once you let go of these, what my mentors called, useless noise, and make your own decisions based off the chart in front of you, that's when you become consistent. So our job is to provide you with sound fundamental education that has stood the test of time, and then work with you so that you can decide what works best for you. All right, now points to remember. This is an entry technique only. Remember, as I stated, our students mostly use this incorrectly by thinking this is a strategy. They say, well, Steve, this stock or future was going up, and then I used the confirmation method, and then I bought, and then it didn't go up any higher. And I said, well, what was the rules of your strategy? And so, well, I don't really have a strategy. I just use a confirmation method. Remember, this is not a strategy. It's not a system. This is something that needs to be added on to your strategy. It is a method. It's a technique. It's not a full-fledged rule-based strategy. So it can be altered to meet your strategy. By altered, I mean, as I stated earlier, many of our strategies that we teach at Specialist Trading require that you use the technique for one bar only. And if it doesn't happen after that, then you negate it. But there are other methods that say, well, you can continue to track it all the way down. It's up to you. This is why we always tell our students to paper trade first to see what works best for them. Now, our goal as your teacher, as your educator, is to increase your odds for a successful trade. But remember, the method does not pick the bottom or top. Maybe you may not get in at the bottom. Maybe you may not get at the top. But remember, it's not designed to do that. It's designed to add consistency to your trading. Please remember that there is no guarantee for winning trades. Now, let me share with you some older examples just so that you fully understand this technique, and then I'll share with you examples that happened in the past week or so. All right, some strategy number 4, confirmation method. This is one of our most consistent strategies. Let's share with you how this could have been generated automatically by using our platform. Now, even though we teach all of our students all of our methods, all of our strategies so that they know them like the back of their hand, we provide the platform as an educational tool, as a process so that you can automatically check your work. For example, let's look at this older chart here in Fossil, FOSL. 2 strategy 4 examples or strategy buy signals were generated. If we want to find out where the entry point is, we know that it's 1 or 2 ticks above. We can check our work. We click on strategy number 4, all right, in the green strategy tab of our platform. A drop-down menu appears. All you have to do is click on confirmation, and this automatically generates where 1 tick is above. Now, the first trade was never generated. You could have tracked it down 1 more if you wanted to, and look what happened, see? Let's look at another example here in the sell and win. As we can see here, we want to make sure that we sell 1 tick below. We just all of a sudden just click on strategy 4, click on confirmation, and that's our entry point, 151.96. Now, a lot of our students like to say, well, Steve, I like to make sure it's maybe 3 ticks below or 5 ticks. That's fine. It's up. Remember, you're in charge. We just want you to understand the process, that we don't want you to simply jump in and buy or sell at the market. You have to wait for confirmation. Now, if your confirmation is 3 ticks or 5 ticks, that's fine. And as you can see, got you in right when the market was going lower. Here's another example, MEDP, a buy signal was generated. There's our confirmation right there. And here's where we really must stress, the confirmation method is not based off of where it closes. It's just based off 1 or 2 ticks above. Some of our students say, well, Steve, I like to see that it closes there before I get in. That's fine. Once again, paper trade to see what feels best for you. Either way, that was a nice setup. Now, here's where it works in your favor, many times keeping you out of bad setups. Here was a sell signal generated. If you had just blindly sold at the market, look at the loss you would have had. All right. Here was another one generated. Had you sold at the market, well, look what you would have eventually lost, most likely been stopped out. But if you waited for the last signal, you would have said, okay, I'm going to use the confirmation method. You would have entered the next day, even though it closed higher, that's okay. And look what happened. Is there any way that we knew it was going to gap down like that? Absolutely not. That's not our goal to figure how low or how high something will go. Our goal is simply to listen to the market. When the market tells you it wants to do something, all we want to do is jump on board, but we must confirm it first before we enter, or else we'll be caught in a couple of setups like this. All right, here's an example in the QQQs. A buy signal was generated. We bought 1 tick above. Now it closed lower, but that's okay. This is where a lot of students get scared. They say, Steve, it closed lower, so I sold it. Well, it's your prerogative, but remember, that's not part of the requirements. It's just the requirement is that it just trades 1 or 2 ticks above, and that would have been a very nice trade, still holding on. And remember, it's not designed to get you in at the bottom. Someone would say, well, Steve, I could have bought right here. Well, sure. This is just mainly to get you in so that you don't, have to sit around for a week or two of a bad setup. Here's a sell signal in IBM. You would have gotten in the next day. Now you have a nice profit, but if you want to hold off for longer, you had a very, very nice profit going into the next couple of weeks. Now, I want to share with you some actual examples that happened recently on our platform. Excuse me. And just to share with you how we can use this both for protecting our trade so that we don't actually wind up with a series of losses, and also how we can actually get into trade. So remember, just take a moment to view our disclaimer, because I'm going to show you a lot of performance results now. But please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And all these examples I'm about to share with you on our platform are strictly for educational purposes only. So as I toggle over onto our platform, as you can see here, here is a recent chart coming up until yesterday of Netflix, all right? Now, here was a buy signal generated by one of our strategies. I believe this is strategy 3. Yes, you can see strategy 3. Now, someone just looking at this would say, well, Steve, your stuff doesn't work. I mean, look at this. This was a huge loss. If I would have bought this in Netflix, look at the loss I would have had coming into August. This was a terrible buy signal. Well, remember, this is the requirement where the setup and everything came into play. This was not the buy area. Now, we've made things even simpler. Originally, you would click on the strategy tab. In this case, it's strategy 3, and you would click it on, and we're at strategy 3 right here. And you'd see the drop-down menu, and you'd click on confirmation. But we've made it even simpler than that. You can do that choice if you'd like, or you can double-click on the actual arrow. You'll get a little menu here, see confirmation, and it's that simple. You know exactly now where you're supposed to be buying. So since we never traded 1 or 2 ticks above, you never lost any money on this. Do you see how valuable this method is? This was an actual example in one of our strategies in Netflix just a couple of weeks ago or so, where even though the strategy generated a buy signal, does not mean in any way you would have lost money. Let's look at another example here. Let's punch up, let's see here, let's punch up KO. All right, so as we see here, kind of a sideways market, goes up and then it goes back down again. It looks primed for whipsaw action. Most of the time when you see signals like this, this is where you really lose money. Well, let's apply one of our strategies and let's see here. Strategy 3A, well, yeah, this would have lost money coming straight down. You would have bought this. It would have gone down the very next day and then gone down lower. Here's another one you would have really gotten killed, and then this one you would have really gotten killed. Well, if we apply the confirmation method to all of these, had we have applied this, there's not one trade we would have taken. So do you see how this would have kept us out entirely? Now, remember, I'm using the standard format that what we use in our strategies, which is for one bar only. So in other words, you would have had to buy this on the next bar. If it did not trade in the next bar, then it's not valid anymore. So each one of these setups was not on the next bar. Now, if you wanted to, you could have continued to track this all the way down and then purchase down here, and you would have had a nice 3-day trade, and then you could have done this here as well, and you could have done it here as well, okay? But this is a perfect example of how you would not have taken these big losses and you can move on to something else. I know a lot of students will say, well, Steve, it looks like you would have gotten filled. Well, the entry was 54.31. All we have to do is click on our data tab, our info panel. As we can see here, 54.30 was the high, so we want to buy above that. So what was the high of the next day? We just put our cursor over the next day. The high was 54.30. Remember, our buy here is one tick above at 54.31. So we never traded there, and you never would have lost any money. So using the standard format on all of these setups, there's not one trade you would have lost on here. So this is how it can protect us. So let's look at one more example here, a recent example in letter A, okay? We look at letter A here. Let's use another strategy. Let's use strategy number 9, which is a pullback strategy, trying to sell at higher prices and buy at lower prices. As we see here, here was a sell, and look what happened. Had you sold there thinking, boy, we closed at the top and a sell, I'm going to sell at the market here, and look what happens. It never really, gives you any type of profit. And then look at this. You had 2 buy signals here. If we applied the confirmation method to each and every one of these, you would never have lost any money. Remember, I'm focusing on the protection feature of this particular technique. We'll look at some signals that actually were generated. But see, not one of these trades which you've been involved in. So this is how it can really help us. This is how it can protect you from a lot of those bad trades. Now, is this guaranteed to keep you out of the bad ones and only get you into the good ones? No. But we're trying to instill consistency. Remember, consistency is the name of the game. Not every trade being a winner. Trust me, I had 2 trades yesterday. One of them was a loss and then 2 small winners. And so on balance, I made money yesterday. So it's not about every trade winning. It's about 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Okay, so those were basically protective moves. Let's look at ways in which we actually could have applied these to signals. Let's look at let's look at SQ. All right, SQ. This had a rather large downward move yesterday, all right? Someone here could say, boy, Steve, this is how you really lose money trading these. But if we apply one of our strategies, we see here that we had a really nice buy signal. This was in July. Using our confirmation method, you would have entered. You would have had only 3 days of having to sit on that, but not really losing a lot until you had a really nice profit. And then someone would say, well, Steve, this one you would have lost a lot of money, right? Well, let's first look at our confirmation, okay? Yes, we would have entered at, let's see, that would have been 80.51. And on balance, and someone looking at this would say, well, yes, this is basically a loss because it went up for a week or so. And after that, look what happened yesterday. You would have lost a lot of money. Well, this is an extra feature we have. I'm not really going to go into this, but we also generate on this, and using this same tab here, we have range extension exits. So look at this range extension. This is telling you the first place you could have exited at 82.57. You think that would have been a nice place to exit prior to the 1-day fall of roughly, I would say, about 15 points, all right? Now, what a lot of our students do is say, well, listen, the first exit, I'll sell half my position and maybe move the remaining portion to unchanged. Well, had you done that, you would have maybe made a little money. There's lots of different ways to trade our methods. Let's look on to another example here. What was that? That was strategy 5, right? Yeah, let's look at another strategy 5. Let's see. We're looking at SQ. Let's move on to NTAP. You see how simple this is just by applying this on our platform. Everything is one click away. Now, each and every one of these signals was validated by a confirmation entry. As you can see, you would have gone short the next day. Had you missed that, you simply go into the next one and you got entered into this one the next day. And then if you missed that, look at this signal that was generated 3 days ago, how you could have taken advantage of that and entered, and look what happened, okay? So this is where it helps you, because it gives you that confirmation, and even though you're not getting in at the top on these short sales, you have the confirmation of feeling at least I'm going in the right direction. Remember, entries are so much about confidence, because if you don't have the confidence, many times you won't take the trade. I'm sure you've all gone through this. You see a tremendous profit and you say, gosh, I didn't take that because I was frightened and I was afraid to take it. But with the confirmation method, it gives you that added confidence, all right? Let's look at a few more examples here. Let's look at BL, okay? And we'll apply strategy number 4. Now here was a sell signal, a really nice sell signal, and look what happened here on Friday, a buy signal generated off this big move. Let's see how the confirmation method could have helped us, all right? Once again, you would have entered and not much happened, but you still didn't have a major loss, but look what eventually kicked in. Now, there is a buy signal here for Monday, but remember, this is only telling us to buy at 56.30. Is this guaranteed that this is going to go another 5-10 points higher? No. So I would be careful with this one because there's some risk added with that. But if you did decide to trade it, that would be your confirmation method. Now remember, we talked about exits. Once again, here's another feature where I'll talk about in other webinars, our range extension exits. These give you all the different places you could have exited. Our third and final one here, look at, don't you think it would have gotten you out at the very bottom? This is the education we give you, and we tell you, I'm not going to go into it now because that's another class for another time, but we teach you exactly what these are based off so you can do them on your own. But everything is one click away on our platform. That's why it's really so nice to have this, because it's right there for you. Now let me look at one last example here in the spiders. That's the ETF that represents the S&P 500. We've had a pretty rough downward week this last week, okay? If we applied one of our strategies, strategy 3A, we see here that we had, let's kind of zoom up a little bit, we had a nice buy signal generated right at the top. This is where students usually look at my information and my courses and they say, Steve, your stuff doesn't work. You generated a buy signal, your strategy right at the top. That was the exact opposite place to buy. Well, remember, you didn't buy there. You had the choice to buy wherever you want. It's up to you, but using our confirmation method, you never would have gotten into this trade. It never traded there the next day. And then the trade is negated. So once again, the confirmation method would have saved you from being in a losing trade. Let's look at another setup here. Not using strategy 3A. Let's look at strategy 9. Okay? Now, just to give you a heads up, strategy 9, which is a pullback method, generated a buy signal on Friday, yesterday. Now, would someone just buy this at the market? We wouldn't recommend it. You're free to do that if you want to, but especially for our beginners, we tell them to use the confirmation method, and that's where you would buy, one tick above 94.13, okay? Just giving you a heads up as to how simple it is, where everything is one click away and you can take the worry and the thought out of it. Now, once again, these examples were strictly for educational purposes only. There's no way we can guarantee that any of these results will generate profitable circumstances, and all examples we just shared with you were strictly for educational purposes only. So, as we go forward, to review the confirmation method, remember, as my mentors taught me, please do not base your trades off of what some guy in a chat room, off of some economic indicator, or even off of what some guy in a webinar is saying. Listen to only what the stock is telling you. And the stock's telling you that if you have a buy setup, buy above the previous bar's high or sell below the previous bar's low, okay? You can do this for 1 bar only, for 2 bars only, or you can track it as long as you want. It is up to you because it's a method. It's not a strategy. As an extra advantage, the confirmation method can also keep you out of losses and of losing trades, as I just shared with you. But please remember, points to remember, this is an entry technique only, but it can be altered to meet your strategy, but you must add it onto structure in the form of a strategy. Our goal as your educator is to increase your odds for success, but this method is not designed to pick tops or bottoms. It's not designed to get you into the bottom or get you out of the top. It's designed to get you in so that you have to wait as least many days as possible for your trade to show some type of fruition. And it's also designed to get you in when the train leaves the station. Remember, as with any method, as with any technique, there are no guarantees for winning trades. So please paper trade this first to see if this method works for you or if it meets your standards. Now, ask yourself, do you think this tool could have helped your trading this past year? Do you think applying it with the ease on our platform could have really helped you? We have a great offer for all the attendees today, taking time out of their Saturday morning. We're going to offer you our 30-day trial to the PTS Primo Charting platform, all the examples I just shared with you, for only $7. $7. I can't think of a better way to get acquainted with you for all the people that are not familiar with our education And let me share with you what's included, because we're not going to just give you the confirmation tool. We're also going to give you 30 to 40 years of education, things I've accumulated one click away, such as our strength of trend feature. This is a tool I developed with Pro Trader Strategies that actually can really signal many times when a trend is running out of steam. So if you're having difficulty in knowing if you should stay in a trade or not, or whether you should get in, many times it will tell you that there is dissipation in the momentum, or maybe there's still strength left in it. We're also going to include our enhanced buy-sell line feature. I've often stated if I were stranded on a desert island and could only use one tool, it would be the buy-sell line feature. And it comes with 4 different categories to use. It tells you the overall trend in seconds. We also have a short-term trend. It's a pattern recognition feature. And so you can use this for shorter-term trading. It comes with over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, but we know that we have a technical bias, and we know that a lot of you like to look and trade based off fundamental news. That's perfectly okay. Remember, we're not here to tell you how to trade or how not to trade. We're just giving you information and education that has stood the test of time. And if you feel you must make your trades based off of fundamental news, well, guess what? We have free Bloomberg on our platform. We have an icon page where all you have to do is simply click on the media page, click on the icon, and you have live Bloomberg TV. Any economic report or announcement that comes out, any indicator, you will see it live on your screen as well, okay? And lastly, this all comes with personalized tech support. There's a lot more features also included I don't have time to go into, but this comes with great tech support, videos, instruction. If you're ever, have some issues not being able to access something, our tech support will be there in a matter of moments to resolve the issues for you, okay? This is all yours. 30 days to decide if this is your cup of tea for only $7, okay? $7, think of it. If you and your significant other go out for coffee this morning, it's going to cost you anywhere from $5 to $10, $15, but you're getting over 40 years of experience of education for 30 days for only $7, okay? This is something that's yours that you can keep for a lifetime, the education that's presented on our platform. So I can't think of a better way to get acquainted with you. Here's how to get in touch with us. Here's how to take advantage of this. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. I developed the platform and they handle all the tech support and all the courses for me. You can email them or call them directly at area code 310-598-6677. Now that link you see at the very bottom will take you to the sign up page for the $7 offer. Now it's not a live link. You have to copy and paste that onto your browser. But if you notice on the chat box, I am posting right now a live link on the chat box in your GoToWebinar column on the far right. So all you have to do is click that on, and it's a live link, okay? Now, I promised I'd answer your questions, so if you happen to have any questions right now, now would be the time to apply this and to type them in. I will answer them to the best of my ability. Someone's asking, can this work on Forex? Yes, it can. We teach courses in Forex markets, currency pairs, Bitcoin, stocks, even commodities. And you can apply this technique to each and every one of them. And we have data for all those markets as well, okay? So our platform comes with Forex data, it comes with commodity data, it comes with stock data, European exchanges, the Toronto exchange, lots of different markets. So yes, in fact, many of our students apply this for the Forex markets intraday trading. So yes, it makes absolutely no difference. In fact, all of our methods, all of our techniques can be applied to any market, any time frame, and any direction. So I've seen webinars in the past where they say, we have the perfect E-mini system, or we have the perfect stock system, or the commodity system, and it doesn't work on other markets. It only works in that one. Well, I don't believe in that. I think that whatever method you're using should be based on what the market is telling you, and the same things occur in all markets. So if you ever buy a course from ours or a strategy or something, it can be applied to any market. You can trade it for other markets as well, okay? People are asking, what is the price after the 30 days? The price goes up to $97, but trust me, that's still very inexpensive compared to some other platforms. I've used platforms before that have charged me anywhere from $250 a month to even $500 a month. And for $97 a month, you're getting over 40 years, 4 decades of educational information at your fingertips, okay? Now, if you're interested in learning more about some of my courses, some of those strategies I showed you that were generating those signals, contact Pro Trader Strategies. There's absolutely no obligation. They would be happy to work with you. Maybe you can put down a down payment, And they would throw in the platform for free. There's lots of different ways to work with them, but they handle all of that. Some of our students are asking about that. I see some of the questions about some of the actual strategies I use. Those are all extra added bonuses, but they're not expensive. They can start roughly anywhere from $400 and go up to $1,000 or so. But they'd be happy to work with you and throw you in some great discounts as well, okay? So as we conclude here, I see if there are no other questions. I hope you learned a little bit out of this, but more importantly, I hope you saw our sincerity in really trying to educate you. As I stated in the opening statements, we are different from other webinars you may have attended in that we're not trying to tell you that we have the perfect system. All you have to do is blindly take the orders and you'll retire in 6 months. If anyone ever says that to you, I've been trading for 4 decades, I would run if I ever heard anyone say that, because that's just silly. You're going to have losses from time to time. The only way you can become consistent is by you making your own decisions, not me, not some fundamental news, not a system that never fails. Okay, it's been back tested 50 years. We don't believe in that. You have to be in charge of your own trading destiny. The good news is we provide you with tons of information so that you can help make those choices, okay? So remember, once again, contact Pro Trader Strategies or simply take advantage of that great $7 offer, okay? It's 40 years of education for only $7, okay? Then after 30 days, you can decide for yourself if you want to continue or you can cancel. It's entirely up to you. As we conclude today, I just want to say thank you so much. I hope you learned a little bit today, and I hope, more importantly, that all of you become students of mine at the PTS Primo Charting platform and with the confirmation method. Thank you so much for attending today. I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.